It is time for the Legal Minute with Martin Harding and Mazzotti at 1-800-LAW-1010. Ben in for Paul this week. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning.
July 1st, marijuana legal in Vermont, and you brought up a really interesting question.
What happens when you're in Lake Champlain?
You're in trouble. And
What's
you
up?
want to know why?
Why?
Well, because Lake Champlain is actually considered federal waters because it shares a border with Canada. So automatically, federal government has jurisdiction, which means that the U.S. Coast Guard is going to be operating under the directives of the federal government. And as we all know, Jeff Sessions has basically given wide discretion to the U.S. Attorneys Generals to enforce those laws. So if you get pulled over by the U.S. Coast Guard as a Vermont citizen with and you are legally sound in Vermont laws, having an ounce of marijuana on your boat, you may be subjected to federal law, which, if it's your first offense, you may pay a fine of up to $1,000. You
Wow.
could serve up to a year in jail. If it's your second offense, you're talking about possibly 2 years, $2,500 in fines, a minimum of 15 days in jail. And if it's your third
Oh, my
offense,
gosh.
minimum 90 days in jail with up to a $5,000 fine. However,
Yeah.
if you're pulled over potentially by Vermont state authorities, the sheriff's department or the state troopers, and likewise, you may not be subject to those federal laws because they don't typically call the Coast Guards in when they would find somebody in possession of marijuana because it's not a civil infraction, it's not a criminal infraction.
Right.
But one of the things that all boaters need to remember, I think, and which is the most important thing, is that you should never be boating under the influence of any drug or alcohol.
Obviously,
and
yeah.
that
Absolutely.
is still an offense. It's still very dangerous. People get very hurt, as we saw in Lake George just last year or the year
yes.
before. But the other thing, too, is because of the nature of the lake, you, as a Vermont citizen, can't be on the New York side of the lake. If you're pulled over by the state troopers or the sheriff's
yeah.
department, you may be subjected to New York state law.
Oh,
That's
So
right.
you have to really kind of know where you are. You have to know where the littoral lines are, and you have to be very careful. So best case scenario, keep it at home.
Leave it at
yeah.
home. Yeah.
You probably don't want to marijuana bring it out with you.
Marijuana. Bring it up.
All
And
right.
even if you're docked, right? Even if you're docked.
Yeah, even if you're docked, well, if you're docked on the Vermont side, I think you're relatively safe. But again, you still have the Coast Guard factor, so you can be docked and you can be basically stopped by the Coast Guard for a number of different reasons.
Okay. That's
So
a good question.
If you are, then you've got a problem. But again, I think that there is a lag here with the legislature and what you can and can't do. For example, we know that you can't be smoking in public places. The lake is a public place. And so if you have the marijuana on you, what exactly are you going to do with it? You can't. My understanding is that you can't smoke inside of your vehicle, and I don't think you're going to be able to smoke inside of your boat, so I don't know where.
Why bring it if you can't use it?
That's right, exactly.
All right. Well, thanks for ruining summer. No,
It's fine with me.
just kidding. We have no stance on that. Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mary.
Martin Harding and Mazzotti, 1-800-LAW-1010.